Hello, Cem Tezcan here. I'm going to show you a little update I made on the Rain Material Pack, which is available on Unreal Engine Marketplace. So you see that we have a blank project within Unreal 4. I must say that this pack also supports Unreal Engine 5 as well. And this blank project has the rain material applied as injected into the project. So you will see that there is a rain material folder appears on the content folder, and if I access it under the maps, there's an untitled map which has all applications of this pack. So I'm opening it, and you will see that there is a presentation scene to show the effect usages or the different variations of this effects on this level. So first one is the post-process volume, and you see that there is a cubicle volume here, and if I enter it, you will see that there is an effect of drops applied to the camera. So this is the post-process effect that generates a rainy feel on the camera glass. And also, if I select this volume and search for a material here, you will see that this material instance is applied as a post-process material. And if I navigate to this post-process material instance, I can access the parameters through here. And you will see that I can increase the drop intensity, effect intensity. These looks like similar effects, but drop intensity eliminates the minor drops. Effect intensity is an overall parameter to adjust the drop intensity. So this both will be much more easier for you to adjust a complete control, adjust the effect in a complete control like this. So the next one is the flow type. You can adjust it from 1 to 4. You will see that a change on the drop variations on the scene. And the general flow speed just changes the flow speed on the camera and generates a vertical flow on the camera. So this is the post-process material, and also you can adjust the UV multiplier to change the size of the drops on your camera. So moving away from this post-process volume, and you will see that there is a dynamic rain volume blueprint added to the scene. This is an all-in-one application of the pack, and you will see that there are some parameters within this blueprint. Previously, this volume was consisting of 4 or 5 actors grouped in the word outliner. This time I changed it as a blueprint to adjust some parameters through it, and added some features to auto adjust the sizes of the particles and the UV multiplier of the projection that applied to the surfaces within this volume. So this blueprint, you can find it under the blueprints folder, under the rain material folder, and there you will see that blueprint, and you can just drag and drop to your scene to generate this effect. Let me show you the parameters that this blueprint has. You will see that there are 3 ticks that can be enabled and disabled within this blueprint. The first one is the post-process effect. Let me switch to the game mode and hide the outline, and you will see that if I enable this, we get the same post-process effect that applied on the previous volume. The next one is the particle rain. I can disable it and enable it through this tick. And the other one is the rainy surface projection that you can see on this existing meshes under this volume, inside this volume. So this volume is easy to affect the meshes inside of it by no material editing. So this is easier to get an whole effect under an whole scene. So this way you don't need to adjust any material one by one and get the area look like it's under rain. So you will see that if I disable this surface projection, the meshes has their own existing materials back. If I enable this, you will see the overlaying projection of the flows and the splashes. The best thing about this volume is that it just applies the effect according to the geometric and the textural normals of the existing mesh. So if your mesh has some vertical points, vertical surfaces like that, you get splashes, and on the side surfaces you get the flow. So it is much more easier. It is just to get a great rainy effect on the complicated surfaces like this. And the other parameters here are the first 5 of them for the rain particles, as you can see about the drops, and the other 5 parameters are for the textural projection through the meshes. So let's start by showing you these parameters about the rain particles. You see that there is a parameter about the speed. If I set it to 1, you will see that we get slower drops, and if I increase it to like 50, it will be much more faster raindrops through this particle system. So let's switch back to 10, and the other parameter is the spawn rate. It is set to 200,000, and if I set it, multiply it by 10, you will see that we get much more intense and large number of parameters applied to this particles. And also you can decrease it, like let's make it 20,000, and here you get less particles dropped through the sky. And the next parameter is the raindrop size. It is set to 2, and if I increase it to like 6, or I can just adjust it to 0.1 to get minimal size of raindrops, to set the size of this individual singular particles of the raindrops. Next one is the rain particle turbulence, which generates a better effect like it's raining under a windy day, because if I set to 0, you will see that all the drops are parallel to each other, and if I set to 5, you will see that there is a much more turbulence on the particles. So it's looking more like it's raining under a storm or a windy day. So 0.5 generates a nice variation through this raindrops in a calm day, but you can adjust it according to your needs. The next 5 parameters are about the surface flow projection, as you can see on this meshes. So the first one is the UV multiplier. I can increase it by 5, 1 or 0.1 to make them bigger. This just changes the UV multiplication of the projected rain effect. So I'm setting it to 2, or even 1 works better on the scale. And the next one is the flow speed. It is set to 5. If I set it to 1, you will see that we got a slower flow, and if I set to 0, you will see the flow will be stopped, but you will see that the splashes won't stop on this parameter. So our next parameter is, let's set it to its default value, is the flow effect intensity. It generates the intensity of the drops. It is set to 0.2 by default, If I set it to 1, you will see that the drops and the splashes will be more intense. Even 5 will work like not much realistic but more intense. And if I set it to 0.2, you will see a slightly lower intensity on the drops. And the other one is the flow brightness. You will see that this volume generates a darker base color value. So this overrides the existing base color of the surfaces. So let me move this to the checker texture to show you better understanding on the darker base color. This checker has some emissive values, so these emissive areas are not affected by the volume, but as you can see, if there is no emission or luminosity applied to the surface, you will see that it generates a darker color by overriding the existing surface material. So if I increase this brightness, you will see that the brightness difference is disappeared, but it also removes the drop effect on the surface. So we need that darkness to see the drops of this volume, but you can adjust the intensity of this darkness by this parameter, which helps much. As another and final parameter, you will see that there is a surface flow roughness. This volume overrides the existing roughness value of the material that is overridden by the volume. So you can adjust the roughness value by this parameter to just adjust the roughness value of the volume. So if I set it to 0, you will see that we will get reflections, screen space reflections like this. And if I increase the roughness, we will be losing these reflections, and also the specular reflections of the light sources will be eliminated by the roughness value. So setting it to 0 helps much better on getting nice reflections. Let's move it back like this to see the reflections much better. Right. So the best thing about this blueprint also is the scaling is easier with this volume blueprint volume. Previously, we need to adjust the area by scaling every component one by one. But this way, you just need to adjust the scale of the blueprint, and all of the components are adjusted according to this scale values. So you will see that the particle area is adjusted through the scale of the particle volume. You will see that the particle boundary enlarges if I set it to 3, and also the surface projection UV multiplier is also adjusted according to this scale. You will see that if I set it back to the scale of 1, there is no change on the surface projection UV scaling. So this adjusts itself according to this parameter. So this way also the particle size is applied according to this scale, but you can also override them by adjusting these parameters again by yourself as well. So this is a much more easier way to adjust the area of this rain overlay volume. So the third application of this pack is the translucent rainflow material. You will see that there is a raindrops flowing through this surface, and you see that there is a translucent material instance is applied like this. If I access it, I can change the parameters of this effect by here. you will see that there is bunch of parameters like the UV multiplier to set the scale of these drops, and also index of refraction helps on changing the intensity of the refraction. So the flow speed can also be helpful on getting faster flows on this translucent material, and this is good for applying to the window surfaces, window glass surfaces, to get a nice effect like it's raining. So the final one is the manual override function for the materials. But the best thing about this overlay function is it generates a better looking splashes than the previous rain overlay surface projection, because this way it just manipulates the existing normal map. So you see that there is a normal map applied to the to this cube, and you will see that there is rain splashes, and the existing material is also, existing normal map is also stays on the cube once we apply this overlay function. But the downside of this application is that we need to edit the existing material. So you see that this cube material has this texture and this noise applied as normal. It has base color and normal map applied by default. And if I check this modified version of this cube, you see that the same base color is applied. I change the roughness to a lower value to get a shiny look on, because it's wet. And the final modification is that I take the normal output of the existing material, the noise, as you see, and I add the normal overlay function between the output of the material, normal output, and the existing normal map. So if I put this function between the normal flow of this material blueprint, I got all the parameters of the rain flow material. So after making this modification, I generate a material instance by this modified from this modified base material, and you will see that I got these parameters can be adjusted for this cube. For example, if I set the static drop on parameter to 0 to disable it, it's a scalar parameter, but it works like a boolean. And if I set this general flow speed as 1, you will see that this time we got a flow animation applied to the existing normal map of this cube. So there are a bunch of other parameters like the UV multiplier and other kind of same materials of this pack can be adjusted like this. So this generates a better look, but it needs a manual editing on each material on your level. But this overlay volume doesn't need any application, and also it has a compatibility with the complicated or complex surfaces, like the flows and splashes can be applied through the geometric and textural normal of the existing mesh. So this is about it, and this update just added this blueprint here to make a much more easier scaling and parameter particle material adjusting by the scale of this volume. So this blueprint helps much better application on generating area definition for your levels. As you can see, if I just scale it in a ununiformed way, it is harder to get the best out of it. So I suggest you to adjust the scale by uniformly by setting this lock here, and it will be easier to get this effect has the more intact consistency in between the parameters of it. So thanks for watching and have a great day.